So now I'd like to introduce Simon Garrison, the CEO and founder of Numerical Innovations, to present today's webinar. Simon?
Great. Thank you very much, Kelly. What I'd like to do today is introduce and explain our app. It's called DFM Now app. It runs inside of OrCAD and Allegro. And basically, what the feature or the primary features of this tool is that it's a full-featured DFM checker to be able to make sure that your manufacturing data is correct before sending out to manufacturing. So the whole idea here is to be able to, as a secondary way, to double-check and make sure that your design, after it's passed DRC and everything from OrCAD, that the data you're sending out to manufacturing has completely passed DFM and avoiding any problems that could potentially happen in manufacturing. So let me start off by just doing last year. We performed this survey. And basically, this is what started our tool DFM Now in the first place. Is we had about 500 participants, and we basically asked them just a simple question: what do you do after you finish your design? How many of you actually, once you've got the manufacturing data, such as Gerber, NC, or ODB, or whatever type of format you have, what do you do with that data? And as far as being able to verify and just double check before sending out. And so when we got our responses back, we pretty much had about 70% of the designers got back to us that pretty much all they do is after they finish their designs and they've exported out their manufacturing data, they'll go ahead and quickly just run it by some type of Gerber viewer or some type of viewing system, just to give it a visual look through, see if it's okay, and if everything's fine from there, then they just go ahead and send it on out to manufacturing. 20% of the designers actually, we were actually surprised by this number, but only 20% actually have a dedicated CAM tool that they use to go ahead and after they finish their design again to run full DFM checks to make sure that their Gerber drills, Netlist, everything matches up so that there won't be any problems, unexpected delays or problems in manufacturing. And then we have about 10% that pretty much do nothing, where they just, once the data is complete, they pretty much just send it on out to the board shop and then just figure that the board shop will take care of anything if there's any problems. So that's pretty much the results we got. And again, we were pretty surprised by the difference there. And again, so this means pretty much by including the 70% that just use the viewer and then the 10% that really don't do much at all, you pretty much have about 80% of the designs that of the designers there pretty much don't give their manufacturing data a thorough run over to make sure that everything is fine. And the design can take from days to months to complete. And why not just give it a little extra time to make sure that everything has been properly verified before sending out to manufacturing? Because again, one little mix-up, and pretty much every designer's had some type of occasion, especially seasoned designers, where everything looked great in the CAD tool. Everything passed DRC, looked great. Everything was fine. Outputted the Gerbers, drills, the ODB, whatever data type it was, and sent it out, and then got back either bad boards or had a problem from the board shop complaining about it failed either a Netlist Comparison check or basically, or just received bad boards back. Didn't hear anything back from the board shop. So by not checking your manufacturing data, what you're doing is you're definitely increasing the potential for failed PCBs. And there's some of the most common are shorted nets, open solder connections, and a lot of other situations such as that. And a lot of times, it's just as simple as the designer just feeling that, oh, my design looks great. Now that I've exported out to Gerber or drill, it's going to look exactly the same. And there's many cases where, as you're exporting out to Gerber or drill data or whatever other type of format you have, that there may be some discrepancies in that actual file that you're never able to catch. And that's the whole key and the whole reason why you need to be able to use a DFM tool to properly check your manufacturing data before sending out. So pretty much here it's kind of just a basic review. Again, just mentioning, and probably the most important key that I can't stress enough is it doesn't matter at all what your design inside the CAD tool, as far as how clean it looks or anything else of that nature. If it's past all your DRCs, whether you're using OrCAD, Allegro, or any other tool, what's most important is the actual manufacturing data that you're sending out, because that manufacturing data is what's going to be used to make your board. So it doesn't matter how great everything looks in CAD. What you're sending out, when you zip up those Gerber and drills and pass them on out to the board shop, that's representing the board that you're going to get back. So it's vital that you make sure to check that manufacturing data and not just blindly send it out or just quickly glance on it with a viewer. And so basically, and it's pretty much well known, you know, a failed PCB can cost a lot of money, but probably even more important is just the embarrassment with clients or colleagues if something doesn't get through, if, you know, there's some type of problem. Our follow-up question for our survey was basically, why do about approximately 80%, and again, this is just a small sample size of 500 designers, but I think it gives a good idea of why about 80% of the designers really did not have any specific DFM tool to check their manufacturing data. And the responses we got, not too surprising here, but a lot of them said that the CAM software or the DFM checking tools are too expensive. They couldn't justify it in the budget to their managers. A lot of times even managers don't understand the whole concept of having to, the extra step of having to perform DFM checks. And so that was probably one of the biggest reasons right there. Another reason is it's just difficult to learn. A lot of the CAM software tools are pretty, I'm not going to say archaic, but they're pretty difficult to understand, to learn. They're kind of based back on technologies from the 90s. And then obviously the other one is just everyone's busy. There's a lot of things to do. Why put on additional pressure for yourself by having to now also run DFM checks or, you know, verifying your manufacturing data? And that's pretty much where we came up with the concept of DFM Now. What DFM Now does is, first of all, it's a free tool and it's sponsored by various companies in the industry. So the only thing it does have is it has a small banner advertising window in the upper right corner. And we have various board shops and other PCB-related companies that we pay to advertise in there. But it's a unique concept because, in turn, what it allows us to do is provide you, the designer, full-featured CAM tools as far as being able to run full-featured DFM checks, Netlist Comparison, all these other features that can cost thousands of dollars with other CAM tools. We're able to provide that to you free of charge. So that takes care of the expense part. The other thing is that DFM Now is very easy to learn, and we've actually, since we built this OrCAD and Allegro app, it's basically just a 1, 2, 3 step, being able to load the data into the DFM Now, and then automatically have it start processing all the DFM checks and performing everything else of that nature. So it's extremely easy to use as far as there's really nothing to do other than just click the button. And I have 2 good demos that I'll be showing you shortly, how easy it is to implement that. And then lastly is the designers that don't have the time. Well, I think pretty much the middle part of it, being easy to use, the second option, kind of explains or takes care of that. Because everyone has time if you can make something really simple. And just spending an extra couple minutes here to just check the manufacturing data before you send it out makes all the difference. And then also what I'll be doing here is I'm ready to give the demonstration of how the DFM Now tool for OrCAD apps works. And then also, after I do the demonstration, I'm going to also show you some advanced, unique features that you can't find in any other CAM DFM-related tool. And again, these are all provided free of charge to the OrCAD Allegro designers. What I'll do here is just part of my screen may be shifted a little bit. I'm going to load this in here, and this is just one of the sample demonstration boards here. I have basically the screen with the OrCAD loaded in, and I've just got just one of the sample demo boards here. But what I want to do is make a point on how this simple, even this simple board I have here, if I go ahead and use the tool here to just check the status of my DRC, you see everything looks great. It's according to the DRC here, we have no problem. So me as a designer, if I'm not aware about other problems that can happen, I'm like, this is great. I'm ready to send this on out, get this board manufactured. But as you'll see, what I'm going to do is show you the benefits and the advantages of using the DFM Now tool to check your manufacturing data before, not just not just strictly go off the DRC, but to also check the manufacturing data. So the first thing I need to do is generate the manufacturing data. So if you just go through this with me, I'm sure you guys have done this a million times. Basically, I'm just, at this point, first outputting Gerber files. And then next, what I'm going to do is output the drill data. And these are pretty much the same common steps that would be done all the time. So I'll go ahead and select drill. Great. So at this point, my design is past DRC. Everything looks good. I've outputted my Gerbers and I've outputted my drills. Of course, you can output ODB++, so you can output whatever other formats. But at this point, we're just sticking to the good old basic stuff, Gerber and drill. All right. So now here's where DFM Now comes into play. What you'll do is you simply go to the My Apps, and you have all the different apps that will be available. And you go down to Numerical Innovations and select DFM Now. And what that does is it brings up the DFM Now control dialog. And on this control dialog, there's a wide variety of features and functions that you're able to use. And this basically is what's to interface with DFM Now. So the first thing you'll notice here is on the screen, you'll basically, DFM Now automatically detects where you've outputted your data. So if you outputted Gerbers, it pretty much is able to detect what folder you just outputted everything to. But I think I'm just going to make it real simple and just show you how easy it is instead of explaining all these features. Let me just, all you do is say run DFM check and press start. So what's happening now is the OrCAD app is calling up DFM Now. DFM Now screen pops up. And now what it's doing is it's going ahead and it's imported in the Gerber files and drill files. And as you see simultaneously at the bottom status bar here, is actually performing a full-fledged DFM check at this specific time. And so the boards, basically right now what it's saying is that your Gerber and drill data happen to have 11 violations that were not spotted by your CAD tool. And in this case, it's pretty simple, but it's just the fact that just doing this for a few minutes, you're able to that probably took about 2 minutes to go from design to running a full DFM check. So it tells me here I have 11 annular ring violations. And on the next demo, I'm going to give you just even more complex designs. But let me just show you what you have here. So it asks, would you like to view or browse the violations? So simply click yes. A screen pops up. And then just like with almost any other tool, I'm able to already see that, and I can even zoom in if I like, telling me that the annular ring size here is only 2.9 mils when the minimum allowed was 5. And you'll see there's a whole plethora of them all over the place. But again, I've spent so much time on my design. You know, why not just spend a little more time on the manufacturing just to check to make sure that I'm aware of these? Because again, any of these things that can get passed through design and into manufacturing can definitely cause major problems to your board and failures. So again, that shows that. And the nice thing too, to just kind of show what's nice and unique about DFM Now is after I've generated a report, I can just simply click this button, Create PDF, and then I think I'll choose a, let's see, I just want to choose a simple location to store this in. So I'll put this in a temporary folder at the moment. What I'd like to do is just show the nice PDF generation tool. So what happens is, using DFM Now, it automatically, and this is all provided free of charge to the users, to all OrCAD Allegro users, is now I've got, not only did I find all the violations, but I can easily and quickly create a PDF report which shows all the specific rules and violations that happen with a little screen capture. It actually gives me the XY coordinates and everything else. And now I can take this, go back to my design team, and be able to review any of the other DFM checks or problems that occur. Let me close this out. Okay, in addition to that, a nice thing about the DFM Now tool itself is it is actually very similar to the OrCAD Allegro environment in the case that, for instance, when you hover your mouse over any of the objects, they highlight, you can double click it. You know, even I'll be showing some other advanced features in the future, like with editing, but I mean, it has real smart, intelligent editing, just like we have in the CAD tool, where you can click on a trace and move everything. So it's It's a real nice feature. It's set up more for a designer's point of view instead of trying to be archaic and difficult like many other CAM tools that are out there. All right, so that basically shows the initial point as far as the importance of just checking your manufacturing data, not always just trusting the CAD side. And again, it's just because the manufacturing data is what you are sending out to your PCB shop or whatever. And so that's why I can't stress enough that spending just a few extra minutes to double check the manufacturing data makes all the difference in having a successful board or having a failure. So let me go ahead and close this out, and we'll return back to OrCAD. All right, so what I'll do next is I'm going to go ahead and we'll do load in another design. And then also what I'll do is explain some of the features a little bit more in detail of what DFM Now offers. And so the first thing I'll do here is just open your second design. Nope. Okay. So on this design, obviously a little bit more is in there. Obviously a lot more than in the previous design. Let me go ahead and first show you the features of the DFM Now, because I pretty much glossed over the options that were there before. All right. So the same thing occurs here. I have actually, you know what, I would need to output manufacturing data before I even discuss, before I even use the. So let me just do that same thing first, outputting the manufacturing data, which is done by everybody. I'm going to omit the assembly drawings and fab drawings, because when you're running DFM checks or other things like that, it just kind of gets in the way. So it's just easier not to even worry about that. So at this point, I'm outputting my Gerber data. I'm going to output drill, and I'm also going to output a netlist, because we're also going to run a netlist comparison check. So let me go ahead back here, and then we'll go to manufacturer and generate my drill data. And lastly, let's go ahead and export my IPC netlist, because the IPC netlist will be used to compare, to make sure the consistency of the Gerber drill files, everything else matches the netlist that was in my design. This is the most critical and vital way to ensure that your design, that all your Gerber and drill and all, whatever data is outputted matches precisely your CAD data. Because essentially what happens is the DFM Now is going to recreate a new netlist based strictly off of your Gerber data and then compare it against your IPC netlist generated directly from OrCAD. Let me go ahead and just export this here. Great. So now we're ready for DFM Now. And let me go ahead and go to my app and select the numerical innovation. Okay. All right. So going back to here, basically what happens is DFM Now supports ODB++, supports Gerber and NC data, and also if you just want to use the tools like a viewer, or you just want to load it in empty with nothing in there, you can select none, and it will bring up a blank screen for DFM Now. DFM Now instantly does these. It can run DFM checks. It can run netlist checks. And we also have a panelized feature, which I'll show you at the end of this webinar here. Here's the checks here's the basic stuff that DFM Now will check for. It includes the minimum pads, trays, space, something you see pretty much in every single type of DFM checker or anything else. But what's nice is they're all completely adjustable, so you can make them match your preferred vendor. So if you have a certain printed circuit board shop that you like using and they have a certain, their minimum space is 4 mils or 5 mils or whatever the case may be, or even down to 3, you're able to customize it so it specifically matches what your manufacturer does. Because again, that's what we're all outputting this data for, is for the manufacturers who want to make sure that we meet their guidelines, not just what's in DRC or anything else of that nature. Here's some other checks, and also we'll do 25 other additional checks. They're explained as part of the DFM Now help manual as far as the specifics of what those 25 checks are. There also are advanced checks that I'll go ahead and discuss more in detail when I mention about the Pro version. There also are, there's a net check, so it runs Netlist Comparison. It'll check for open nets, shorted nets. Here's just basically different other options. But I think that's the main part right now. We've already outputted our data. I've kind of just gone over some of the basic features. So let me go ahead now and just we'll just run a DFM check, and then I'm going to run a Netlist Comparison while inside of DFM Now. So I'll go ahead and press the Start button. And again, you'll see how pretty much easy, even with this board here, to perform a complete DFM check. So you see, just by clicking the button, automatically the link has been made. It's called up DFM Now. My Gerbers and drills have automatically been loaded into DFM Now. All the layer types have been assigned. Everything's done for me. A lot of other, if you try to use other CAM tools or whatever you use for DFM tools, you have to load each Gerber file, state what each layer type is, everything else of that nature. Not with the DFM Now app. It knows exactly what was outputted from OrCAD and Allegro, so you basically saved yourself a ton of time. So at this point, what's happening is DFM Now is running its full DFM analysis on this particular design. And so it probably takes, in general, depending on the design, some designs DFM only takes 5 seconds. Some can take a minute, some can take 5 minutes, it just depends. But you see right here that the DFM Now has found these particular violations. And so it's the same thing holds true. Found some minimum 31 minimum width violations, drilled and pad annular ring violations, and also it's found minimum gap. So the same thing holds true. Would I like to do the browse the violations? Sure, let's check. And so what you do here is the same exact thing. You can kind of choose what you want to look for. So let me first select the minimum width. Okay, what happens here at minimum width, if I zoom in really close, you see this arrow is pinpointing. This is just a 5 mil pad placed on the top layer. Not connected to anything else, not a fiducial or anything else of that nature. And this can actually cause problems. Not necessarily big problems, because in this particular case, it's all by itself somewhere. But during etching, this may not be completely removed. It may have to be left with a little stub or other problems like that. So if I just kind of go through, you'll see that they're all over the design. And so basically what's happening is DFM Now is telling you, hey, on your Gerber file, you've got a lot of useless data here that can actually cause problems in the manufacturing. And again, another way this can cause problems is if there happens to be a drill. Let me see if that's the case. Yep, there's a drill, which is signified by this circle here. When you're drilling through, there's a bunch of these little points that can definitely cause problems. It can displace these little pieces of copper. They can be sent everywhere. So in general, it's not a good idea to have those there for this particular design, and DFM Now pinpointing that out to you. And again, because they're so small, you need to probably press the plus minus to zoom in. You got the drill annular ring. So in this particular case here, you see that the annular ring size should be 5 mils, but instead of 2.6. So it's pinpointing that again out to you. This is, and again, it even explains to you what the problems could be as far as this could cause plating. This may make plating on vias as well as the solderability on component holes more difficult. So again, going from CAD to your manufacturing kit, there's all sorts of potential pitfalls and things that could happen. Let's see. The last one is actually not an error. What happened is it's a minimum gap violation, but it's because there's a logo on the screen, and so it just caught between those two pieces of metal there. And also, it's just common to note that DFM checkers all around the world, everywhere, no matter where you perform a DFM or even DRC checks, you're going to have some false positives. It's just the nature of the business when you're working backwards with just basically Gerber data, which is XY coordinates with flashes, drill data. It doesn't always know specifically what everything is. It follows a certain set of rules. But it sure is helpful to at least have it pinpoint out to you. You can just select dismiss, or you can just ignore it and not move on from there. So what I'm going to do here is I've closed out the DFM browser, turn all the layers back on. And at this particular point in case, I'm going to go ahead now and also run a Netlist Comparison. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, hey, those problems maybe were binary, ignore them. Let's go now and run a Netlist Comparison and see how the connections of my Gerber data is, just to make sure that everything is fine. So what I'll do here, and again, this can be done automatically through the OrCAD, the DFM Now OrCAD app. There's a box that says go ahead and run net checks, but I'd like to just kind of perform this to show you how once you're inside of DFM Now, you don't just have to only be able to control it from that dialog based inside of the OrCAD tool. You can can also fully customize and work in the DFM Now environment also. So what I'll do here is I'll just go to, actually first thing I need to do is import the netlist. So let me import that IPC netlist that I had created before. And so let's see, there we go. And so I'll just need to scroll down to where I had saved that. Just a second here. Lucky for me, I remember where all the folders are. See, that was OrCAD, and that was the Krypton. Here's my IPC file. All right, so now I've loaded them in. And you'll see here what happens is, just like with many tools, it basically shows a, basically you have a little upside down and the up and down kind of symbols. This symbol shows here that the connection's on the top, and if it has one on the bottom, it forms an X, so that way you have a connection on top and bottom. And again, it's not really too urgent to know exactly what that's for. I just wanted to import the netlist so that DFM Now is aware of the CAD netlist, so now I can compare it against the actual extracted netlist. So what I'll do is go to Tools, Net, do a netlist compare, select Next, and then what it's done is it's found 7 open nets detected. Now the one thing I can stress, that I will stress with finding net errors, and let me just zoom out a little bit, is that they can be difficult to reverse engineer. What that means is that all the DFM Now has done is it's taken the Gerber and drill files or your manufacturing data, extracted a netlist based off of what's connected to what, and then it's used the drill data to be able to tell what's connected to what by layer. So that way it's able to create its own unique netlist. And then what's happening is you're comparing it against the IPC netlist, which is outputted from the OrCAD CAD tool itself. So when there are discrepancies, sometimes they're very easy to spot, sometimes they're not. But what it does do is it tells you, hey, at this location, this particular test point from the bottom does not, basically saying that the external net, the ground net, and the cam net differ at the same location. So this would, again, take some time to kind of reverse, but if you see there's other points here, which probably got the same thing. I think this is the same net. In any case, what you can do here is reverse engineer, double check to make sure everything's fine. And what I can do is I can actually probably present, if there's enough requests for it, I'd be more than happy to perform another webinar where we go in detail for netlist comparison as far as finding and locating the errors, basically in doing the reverse engineering. But what's nice, again, with the tools, you can simply output a PDF if you like, and then go ahead and from there, I'll just go ahead and do that here. And then pretty much, it's able to pinpoint all the net problems, and so I can go back into my CAD, or I can share with my colleagues or team members about what was found in the data. Now sometimes these netlist comparison may pull up a false positive, but in more cases than not, they're accurate. And if there's a problem, if there's some type of netlist comparison feature, your whole board could be in trouble, and no board shop is going to be able to detect that. So that's why, again, it's just vital that you spend the time to verify and check that data. And again, at the end, we have questions and answers. I'd be more than happy to kind of go over more about the netlist comparison. Or again, probably even better is just have a specific webinar based on that feature, because that in itself is a fairly complex method as far as reverse engineering, going back and forth and figuring out what's connected to what, what's not connected to what. And typically it involves having like a drill going through, there's no opening. In any case, so that's set up there. Now the next thing I want to do is, assuming that it had passed, the board had passed, everything was great. The next cool feature that you can only find in DFM Now is we address another issue that also, so DFM Now has already demonstrated how the importance of being able to verify and check your manufacturing data, not just trusting strictly CAD, but to take the extra step of checking your manufacturing data. The next thing that DFM Now does, it's not even related to DFM Now, but to DFM, sorry, is it will go ahead and provide complete quoting facilities for your board. you've noticed perhaps in the top right corner here, what it's done is it has a basically an estimated price. Yeah, this is basically quantity. And it gives you a rough idea already instantly of how much your board's going to cost to make. Now, this is not a precise, accurate measurement here, but it's fairly close. And let me go ahead and show you the cool part about it. Is all I have to do is, let's say, for instance, again, my board's passed DFM checks, everything's good, I'm ready to send this out. Typically, with the average, what you'll need to do, and let me just, typically what you'll need to do is you need to zip up these Gerber files, send them on out to a board shop, and when you send them on out to the board shop, you need to define what layers, tell them the minimum spacing, minimum trace, a whole bunch of information. And if you have more than one board shop you're quoting, we're talking you can spend up to 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even longer, just extracting this information about your design just to send to a board shop, just to simply give you a quotation. Well, with this tool, Send RFQ, it takes care of everything for you instantly. The cool part about it is all you do is you just press the button. DFM Now knows everything about your design already. It knows all the minimum trace, minimum space, everything, because it's already performed full DFM checks. So all you have to do as a designer now is to select, hey, what board shops would I like to include? And this list is constantly growing. So we have probably in the works right now at least about 25 other shops that we're in the works, just getting, kind of nailing things down. And if you have any specific board shops that you use that you'd like to have included here, definitely send us their information when I'll give you our contact information later, or simply have your board shop tell them, hey, we'd like you to be part of the DFM Now stuff so we can send out quotes directly to you without having to worry about going to your website or filling out forms or anything else of that nature. So let me just show you what we have here with these particular ones. So I can select whatever companies I want. Obviously, this is probably too many, but let's say, for instance, you have 3 or 4 of your favorite shops. Well, with the quote, the Send RFQ quote here, you can instantly send out the quotes, all the information about your board to 3 different shops simultaneously. So all I do here is first you just select whatever manufacturer you'd like to have make your board for you. Select Next. In here, you just simply enter your board name, and I'll just say just something simple. You enter your quantity of the boards that you'd like to have, the lead time, and then if you notice, as lo and behold, DFM Now already knows your layer count. It knows the board width, knows the board height, knows the drill count, knows your minimum hole size, minimum trace. Looks like it didn't do the space, but that's because there probably was a violation on there. Your printed circuit board thickness, all your other information. You're also able to attach any additional files. So in this case, it went ahead and it also included the IPC file. If you're not comfortable, if you don't want to send your data out to different board shops, simply just uncheck this. And basically, they're just going to get the information about your board, all the dimensions, what you have, how many holes, drill count, size. Basically giving them everything anyways that they can use to quote your board without you even having to send your actual Gerber drill data to them, or ODB plus or whatever. And there's a section for notes. That's all there is to it. All I have to do is press the button Send, and all these board shops will automatically be contacted with your, they'll receive, all of them will receive an email notification saying that you'd like to have your board basically quoted, and that's it. You just sit back and just wait to get your quotations back. And it, again, provides optimal benefit for you as a designer, because now you've got various board shops who are able to compare quotes. Maybe someone can get it back to you faster. Maybe someone can give it to you at a more beneficial price. But it's completely up to you. And this is completely secure. We actually use the Amazon Web Services to store the data. The data only stays, I believe, for 24 hours as far as your design, so the manufacturers have to quickly pull it off or else it's taken out. It's encrypted with 256-bit encryption with the AES 256-bit encryption. So once it's sitting on the secure server on the Amazon Web Services, it's pretty much impossible for anyone to open it up and extract it anyway. So it's got a nice, safe, efficient way to get that done. And just get your quotations. It saves another hassle, another step. So that pretty much shows everything that you can do with a free tool with DFM Now. So what I'm going to do, probably the next 5 minutes, is just show you the advantages of DFM Now Pro. and kind of just give you an idea of what options you have there. And again, 90% of the users, this free tool does any and everything that you would need and more. However, there are cases where you like to have more benefits, such as being able to panelize, merge boards together, and perform a lot of other complete Gerber editing. Maybe you want to save and export your data. So let me go ahead and get started with that. So let me hit File and Exit. Sorry, return right back to OrCAD. All right. So here, what I'm going to do is show the benefits of the DFM Now Pro. And actually, my PDF shut down, so I'll just need to bring it up here. So just pardon with me as I scroll through the screens real fast. Here we go. Okay. So here's the benefits of DFM Now Pro. One thing I forgot to mention is that the DFM Now app is completely free. However, it does require internet. And the reason it requires internet is because that's what's used to bring up those ads you see, the banner ads. And so when you start the tool, it has to be able to access the internet, our servers to be able to pull out the latest ads and everything else of that nature. For some, and probably for most customers, this is not a problem because it just simply quietly goes behind the scenes, contacts our server, pulls in the ads, and everything's fine from there. However, for a lot of larger corporations where they have more strict requirements with their server, DFM Now, the free app, may not be able to get out through your server and access the internet. So basically what you'll do is you'll get a message saying that DFM Now cannot access the ad, so basically it doesn't allow you to move forward. Because again, the free tool, the way it's being, and again, comparing the features, those are things that cost thousands of dollars in other CAM tools. The reason DFM Now is able to be offered free is because of the support from the various advertisers that help compensate for the, basically for this technology. However, if you are behind, again, an environment where you don't have internet access, or you just, again, there's just strict company policies, we offer a pro version. The pro version does not have any type of internet access. So you're able to run it whether internet's on or not. It doesn't show any ads. It allows you to export and save your data. So once you've loaded it into DFM Now, if you want to save it or you want to export to DXF or any kind of other format, you can do that. It also has advanced DFM checks, which I'll show you really shortly. It has a panelized wizard and merge PCBs feature. This is a really awesome tool. Probably one of our biggest sellers alone. It's just the panelized and merge feature, how it combines all the boards really quick and efficiently and allows you to have basically, if you have 3 or 4 different prototypes you want to send out, combine them all into one set of Gerber files, send them out to the printed circuit board manufacturer, and you'll save big money on the tooling and everything else because basically it's combined all those designs into one set of Gerber files. So you just get one set of tooling, and you actually may have had like 4 or 5 boards. Also, the Pro has SMT stencil generation. You can generate part centroids and a lot of other stuff that you see with high-end CAM tools. And this is just basically kind of just a rundown of the comparison features. But enough of the PowerPoint kind of stuff here. I'd like to actually just show you how it works. So every one of you has the ability to run DFM Now Pro. As long as you've installed DFM Now app onto your system, all you need to do is simply go to My Apps again, select DFM Now, and you go to the Options section. And here in the Options section, there's an option right here, DFM Now Mode. DFM Now as free, which requires internet access, or you can run it as DFM Now Pro. Okay. As soon as I select DFM Now Pro, if I go to the advanced Netlist checks, the advanced DFM checks, now all of a sudden all these advanced checks are now available to me, such as like fine mask quivers, solder bridges. Again, basically you can also generate like a Gerber file for all the error markers, so you can easily load that right back into OrCAD. And we're actually working on a cross-probing tool for the Pro version. So for any DFM errors, it just pops it right into the OrCAD, and you can go right back and forth and double check all the errors. And again, let's see what else. For Netlist, it finds some, basically these are additional checks that it'll perform, such as missing copper locations, external nets. So right away, as soon as you select the Pro option, you no longer have internet or ad requirements or anything else. You've got a lot more checks that are involved here. And then also it has a panelized feature that's included. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the panelized feature on its own inside of DFM Now. But if you do click this, it automatically panelizes your board up for you. So it's a real nice and cool feature. So let me first go ahead and just show the panelization feature, because this is one of our main get you kind of things that excites people about the Pro version. So let me go ahead and press start. What this is going to do, if you notice, I didn't select DFM check, I didn't select Netlist check, I didn't select anything. So all it's going to simply do is load in my OrCAD design right into DFM Now. And then from there, I'm able to basically work with it like I would any other type of editor. All right, so I have this in. First thing I'm going to do, as we're going to make since we're going to make a quick panelization, is I just want to get rid of the title block here. And now that we're in editor mode, I can just go ahead and delete the data here. You see, this is full-fledged Gerber editor at this point. I mean, you can do any type of modifications, anything else of that nature. What I'm going to do also, just to kind of show off a bit, is I'm going to load in a second design, merge them both together, and then show you how that works. So creating new designs is very easy because DFM Now is real unique in that it can load infinite number of jobs simultaneously. What a lot of other CAM tools, other things need to merge the same board together into another board, and you have to do a lot of work. This is nice and clean and efficient. You just simply select your new job name, and now it's like you're starting from scratch. You just say, hey, I want to import. Maybe an auto load feature. There's all types of different things that are included in these tools, and this is all. Let's see. So I'll simply go to the OrCAD, and where's that easy board? There we go. Okay. All right. So what I've done here is this is the original board that we first performed for our test case, and then I've got the other design here. So let's say, for instance, hey, I want to have, let's say, for instance, 3 of these boards I need to have, and I need to have 8 of these. So typically right now, if I was to go to a board shop and order these, I'd be ordering these separately. I'd say, hey, I need a quantity of 3 and I need a quantity of 8. And again, you can get charged a lot more for the tooling, for everything else. Wouldn't it be nice just to have a way to combine both these designs together and have them considered one board? And there's a lot of board shops, especially nowadays, that accept these type of merged Gerber files. Let me show you how easy it is to do. I'm going to show you the 2 methods. One is the more old-fashioned way, and one is the more optimized way for printed circuit board designers. All you do is you select New and Panel. This is where you just decide, okay, what's the size of the panel, the maximum size of the panel I want. Press OK. All right, and then from there, all I simply do is you go to Tools, and I'll use Panelize Wizard in this case. So I put my minimum count of each board that I would like. That was 3 for the job, for that first one, and then 8 was for the other board. This section here called surplus. Surplus means that if I have any room available, why not just fill it up with some extra boards? So I'll go ahead and just put, I don't know, 4, 2. Again, you can just leave this 0. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you. But all you do is simply press Next. Now what's nice here is the tool actually adds scoring lines, if you like, which can be used actually for the scoring, or they can actually use it for routing out the boards because it pinpoints an outline around your board. You can also define outline layer, which is basically what I just mentioned earlier as far as specific layer showing all the outline. You can add crop marks to your silk layer, so if you have there's a lot of different ways you can kind of be able to crop each board in there so they know what to do. But here's the good part. All you do is press Next, and then what you'll do is you'll see that quickly our merge wizard has figured out, okay, what's the best way to fit your requirements into this board. Obviously, you see there's even more space available. So if I had chose like a higher surplus, I probably could fill in more boards. But as you see, it starts off with the best, what DFM Now thinks is the best arrangement, down to what's probably the least optimal arrangement. And you have everything in between. And guess what? It's simple as just clicking this arrangement and then just pressing Finish. There you go. I've merged my boards. Right now, all I simply have to do is go to File, and actually one last step, sorry, jump ahead. You need to synchronize the layers. Because you'll see here we have a whole bunch of like 2 tops, there's 2 grounds, there's everything else. Because you have different layers. So all you need to do is simply run Synchronize. And what Synchronize does is, again, you can have on one board top layer maybe named something else, on another board top layer maybe named something else. It just combines both those top layers into one clean set of Gerber files. So I just go to Setup, Synchronize Layers. Basically, you don't do nothing more than just keep clicking Next. If you're not too familiar with what these do, you just click Next. And this basically tells you that, okay, on the top, These are the default names, and you can go and change them if you'd like. Press next. Okay, synchronizing is done. So now, if I want to go ahead and look, let's say, for instance, at my top layer, you see that the top, now they've been merged together. That's a fantastic way to, basically right now, all I have to do is go File, Export. I can save it as a Gerber, ODB, whatever specific formats I need. I can export out my drill and send this on out to manufacturing. And now what I've done is I basically have one set of Gerber files that I can use to save me big money on manufacturing. Another thing I want to show you, it's the same thing with the merge, but it's a little more optimized because as you see here, what happened is we had a lot of boards that fit in here, but our original thing was we only wanted 8 of one and 3 of another. And it just appears we got like 5 or, basically we didn't get the precise amount we want, so we may be paying for this extra space because this merge is not optimal. So what I'm going to do is show you how our cool merge feature, what it does is it takes whatever amount of boards you want and compresses them into the smallest space available. So that way when you have your boards manufactured, you've got a set of Gerber files with at least, the smallest area, so that will save you money just on the fact that you've compressed all your designs into the smallest area. Let me go File, New, I'll select Panel. And here is just a default panel, which is like the largest size. The only difference is last time I selected Panelize Wizard. This time I'm going to select Merge Job Wizard. All right, so here I just want 3 and 8, as we mentioned before. Everything looks pretty much the same as before, except the difference I'll show you in a second. Now when I click Next, it takes a little longer because what happens is DFM Now is trying to find the most optimal way to combine everything together. So on a previous panel that I showed you, that was a 20 by 24. Now what happened is DFM Now was able to find in a 17 by 18 inch smaller area, it was able to meet my 3 by 8 requirement. And as you see here, this is 18 by 17. It's found all different ways to combine the design. And as you see, as you start going down, they're less optimal. So typically, just by actually selecting the first 2 or 3, you pretty much got what you need. And again, merging is as simple as this. Pressing Finish. That's it. Since I already synchronized my layers before, everything's good, so I don't have to go back and do anything else. I'm right now ready to export the Gerber drill files, whatever, and I've got my merge boards. So that's a really nice feature, that kind of shows some of the benefits if you do decide to use, to want to upgrade, I guess, to the Pro version. In any case, it's completely up to you. There's also a whole bunch of other features there. So this is, again, the translators are really nice here. It has the ability to actually do things like importing in GDS2 data, has the ability to import bitmaps, DWG files, ODB++. We'll also have compatibility for the IPC format, the 2781 format, and that will be available shortly. And the same with exporting. I mean, look at this. We can export out to DXF. You can export to GDS2. We also have like large images. So for a lot of the printing now, what they do is they don't actually output to Gerber. They actually output to a high-resolution image. So you can actually do this here. We also have a TIFF feature that's available shortly. You also can do 3D with STL, IGES, PostScript. So there's a whole plethora of conversion tools that are built into this besides all the editing and everything else of that nature. Let me close this out. I'm back in here. Lastly, I just want to show for the Pro, we are offering a special deal. We'll work this out with EMA's permission, where normally the DFM Now Pro is $12.95, but we are offering promotions basically for the rest of this month, where it's just $650. You get all the features that I showed you, as far as the panelization, editing, DXF, everything else that's included with that. And again, you also have a free 15-day trial of the tool just by simply clicking the Pro version while you're inside of DFM Now app. I'll go back and just show that to you again. But all you need to do is just, if you're interested, simply either contact EMA directly or just visit our website, which is numericalinnovations.com, and you'll see the DFM Now item displayed on our front page. So you just simply scroll down, see the DFM Now for OrCAD item, click it, and then it's just like any other shopping software tool if you're interested in purchasing. So going back here, just to mention again, if you are interested in trying out the Pro yourself before you buy, because we strongly advise anyone to check it out first. you just simply, it's default to say run as free. You just say run as pro, and I believe you get 15 days, no hassle, try it out yourself. Let's see. I think that's pretty much everything at this particular point. So I think, Kelly, if you'd like to open up any questions and answers or anything else of that nature, I'd be more than willing to do that.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Okay, at this time, we will be opening up lines for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand on the dashboard and go to webinar, and I will let you know when we're opening your line.
Simon, maybe if I wanted to, as a user, have this app shown in my OrCAD or Allegro tools, I see that you have My Apps and then you have Numerical Innovations. Can you just tell me how I could go about getting that particular application?
Oh, yeah. Great question there, Ron. What you do is, so the most important thing, obviously, because we're giving the demonstration, is unless you don't have the tool, this demonstration actually is not much help or use. So what you do is you just simply go onto the your website here, and you just basically go to the OrCAD Marketplace. It's the EMA EDA set up right here, and here basically the OrCAD Marketplace. If you're not familiar, simply Google or Yahoo OrCAD Capture Marketplace, and it'll take you right to this page. So all I need to do now is you'll see there's a bunch of other really useful apps that are over here, and at the bottom you'll see a DFM Now. So all I simply do is click DFM Now, and what it will do is it will take me right over to this point, and it again gives more description of the tool. Simply click Add to Cart, and go to the checkout procedure, and that's pretty much all there is to it. And obviously you'll need to enter in your customer information, and what will happen is you'll automatically be emailed the installer for the DFM Now. Simply double-click on the installer, and they have it set up with EMA and OrCAD where you just double-click it, and it just automatically installs the app, shows up in the menu the next time you start up OrCAD or Allegro. So it's a real nice, easy facility to be able to implement it. There's no types of weird setups or anything. They're trying to make it's really simple, almost like you have with an iPhone app, where it's just all integrated into the tool itself.
Okay, thank you, Simon.